Today we're talking about Jot, a player that became 9b9t's first president as well as a public admin. Starting out on the wrong foot with the majority of 9b9t, he had to climb the ranks to the top from all the way down in the pits. Let's get right into his story.
Jot_ joined on July 24th, 2016. While other players rushed to make a name for themselves, Jot mostly kept to himself. For roughly the first 7 months of playing on 9b9t, he had no interaction with the community. He would, however, run into the occasional player at spawn or on the highway. His first ever base was a small one. Only 40,000 blocks out on the X Plus highway, he made a farm in a tall birch forest. Jot based here and farmed for a few weeks before moving on. Getting bored of not seeing or talking to anyone, he decided to use his alternate account, Jotistic, to venture out and create another base. Jotistic joined August 27th, 2016, nearly 1 month after his main account. He used this account to venture out to about 500,000 -Z overworld. This is where he established his second base. It was in the middle of an extreme hills biome and was a wheat farm. This base did not last long at all due to a huge blunder by Newfag Jot. He was tricked by a person in chat to do /kill vote yes. He died and did not have a bed set. He also did not manage to save cords either. Jot returned to his original Birch Forest base and based there from September to November. Sadly, this base was griefed about a week later. Due to Jot being very poor at the time, he left the server and did not return until Christmas Day of 2016. This was the day that JJ re-enabled the 1111 dupe. He quickly made his way to a location a few million blocks from spawn and created a stash that's still around today. The creation of the stash and all of his new gear did not spark any interest in Jot, and he continued his hiatus.
Step up in this bitch like I'm the one your bitch like. Yeah, I'm the one your bitch like.
Upon returning to 9b9t 2 months later, Jot found himself still bored. Despite this, he actually started to join forces with other players. He met a player named Puck_0 who was teamed with 2 other players whose names have been lost to time. They invited him to their new base, and this was Jot's main base for a long time. Puck and the others started to play a lot less after a while, but it didn't stop Jot from building and streaming at the base. In February of 2017, not over a week after Jot had returned to 9b, the infamous data wipe occurred, which not only wiped his data, but the data of everyone else online at the time. This made his join date February 22nd, 2017, which was never fixed. He was, however, compensated for his data being wiped. JJ spawned him in some building kits, PvP kits, and gave him his player head, which at the time was his flash skin. While building at his base, Jot saw a link in chat to join a Discord server. This server just so happened to be public. Joining public was perhaps one of the best career moves Jot could have made because it introduced him to a ton of players that would become longtime friends. Once he joined public, he saw that Minecart 11 had just started up his monthly NVHQ and was looking for random players to invite. Jot just so happened to ask at the right moment and was given an invite instantly. Bewildered by the easy invite, Jot made his way to the NVHQ. Keep in mind that he had no idea what NVHQs were or how long they actually lasted. On his way to the base, Jot ran into Paradigm Plague, who was meeting up with Flashback and other players who were on their way to grief the base. Jot had no clue who Para was and thought it was a random person he met by chance. Once he reached the base, he was briefed that there was going to be a group of people coming to blow it up, and that they should enjoy the base while they could. While Jot was devastated by this news, he did not pass up the chance to have some fun. You could probably find the NVHQ7 grief video somewhere on YouTube, and see Jot running around with Worst Client, trying his best to PvP 4 people at once. In the months following, from March to June, Jot became known for being, well, annoying. He would constantly pester others, and he became the average no-name. He would stream himself building at his base, PvPing at spawn, exploring the highways, and expanding the Southern Canal. It seemed like he would not escape his fate as he continued to befriend people like Matt Planet and Minecart 11. However, not all his friends made during this time were bad. Some, like Conan MC, Corrupted Greed, and LTNK, went on to be longtime close friends. In fact, it was on June 1st of 2017 that Jot teamed up with Corrupted Greed and LTNK to run one of the most ambitious spawn projects in 9b history. It was called Operation Spawn, and it ran over the course of 4 days. The main objectives were to eliminate Crystal PvP, clean up the overworld and nether spawn, and maintain the highways. The project took tons of resources, and many notable players showed up to help. However, this did not help Jot's name be viewed more favorably throughout the community. Luckily for him, his destiny was about to change.
Or direct you guys. Oh, there's John.
We should make a plural.
Don't do not do anything, please.
You're the only power. You're the only power that
If young Metro don't trust you, I'm gonna shoot you. Beautiful morning, you're the sun of my morning, babe. Nothing in the water.
June 18th, 2016, one day before the one-year anniversary of 9b9t. Jot was making his way down the X-Positive highway where he happened to meet Remastered COD, who just so happened to be putting together a rando army to grief a base known as NBT. This would be both one of the worst things and best things Jot ever decided to do. On one hand, Jot became one of the most hated people on the server. Now keep in mind, on the path to being a big player, being one of the most hated people on the server is, well, not a good thing at all. However, this raid allowed Jot to have access to some of the rarest items on 9b9t at the time, end portal frames. During the infamous raid, Jot stumbled upon 13 end portal frames. He knew that if anyone knew that these illegals had been leaked to people outside of the K2 group, JJ would probably patch them immediately. He continued to hold on to the rare items for over a year and let nearly nobody know of their existence. The few who knew were Link and Scioto Screen, and much later on Conan MC. Well over a year later, he mass duped them in Sharp 9K swords, which he got from Jeff aka 99Y. He had them renamed to Jotscalibur, and they were at an illegal stash that has not been loaded since June 19th, 2018. "2018 and 2019 were easily the biggest years for Jot. To this day, scientists are baffled as to how he managed to befriend nearly everyone that hated him, and get into the ranks of the big players. In 2018, he was also invited to NVHQ0, a meme-ish project created by Conan MC. It was designed to see if NVHQs last longer without Minecart 11. Spoiler alert, they do. He did not build there at all, but instead got to grow close to his old friends and make new ones. He also created the aforementioned illegal stash, as well as 2 to 3 other stashes for regular use. 2018 was also the year that Jot became a moderator on the 9b9t public Discord server. While this was a big year for Jot, 2019 was even bigger. It started with him founding one of the most successful spawn groups on 9b9t, SEAL Team 6. SEAL Team 6 was founded, completed its goals, and disbanded all in a matter of 2 weeks. After the success of SEAL Team 6, Jot wanted more. He decided that he would do what nearly every big player before him had accomplished, a journey to the world border. It took about 3 days, but Jot phased there on his main account. His account stayed there for 2 years until he was assassinated and sent to spawn. He was later invited to a base named Creed 2, created by WTDpuddles, who he had met at NVHU 0. Puddles had invited the original Creed members and numerous other players such as the K2 Boys, Fraaz T0, Conan MC, Iola Blew Up, and Urpanatori. After quickly rising through the ranks of public hierarchy, Jot got admin in the server. While not a beloved admin by any means, he did what had to be done. This made him wildly unpopular with players that liked to break rules and have fun. He was dubbed the Badman. Fraaz and Fibular later stole this title and use it as a meme to this day. During the summer of 2019, while being very bored, Jot decided to open up an item shop. He used one of his stashes near spawn and gained nearly $400 through the shop's lifetime. He closed down the shop within a month because he had become annoyed with delivering items and moved on. He was invited to a special project hosted by Jeff named Jeff Island 1. The base was near the World Corner and was home to the rarest illegals on the server. The members included Jeff, Jot, WTDpuddles, Riga, Fraaz, and Zim. It was, however, short-lived due to a blunder made by Jot himself. He used an account that VoiceArdian had access to. While being friends with Jot, VoiceArdian did not care for any of the harm that would inflict him and his reputation. Instead, he focused on getting a revenge against Fraaz, who was also at the base. The base was blown up, and blame was mostly placed on Jot. During July of 2019, Jot thought it would be a good idea to head to spawn with illegals. He brought with him bedrock, end portal frames, and a sharp 9k sword to make sure no one could take the items from him. With his inventory full of totems and illegals, he arrived at spawn, where he started placing the unbreakable blocks along with Riga and Broken Griffin. They were in public VC while this was happening, and nearly a dozen people joined to watch them make a flattened bedrock floor at Nether spawn. This was when people started to attack Jot and Riga. Jot decided to use the sharp 9k sword to immediately kill them. However, unbeknownst to Jot, JJ had recently taken notice of his antics due to a video he and Flashback had posted of them using illegals at spawn. And so, JJ secretly made a plugin where if someone used a sharp 9k sword on another player, their inventory would be wiped and their spawn would be set under bedrock of 00. What followed was absolute chaos. Half the server rallied and spammed #FreeJot and #FreeRiga on the subreddit and in-game. Riga and Jot had started something that they could not control. Not long after, a semi-dox of JJ was released, and Jot and Riga decided that they needed to stop what they had started. JJ got on, saw the mess that was created while he was asleep, and fixed everything he could. That, however, was not the end of the events that would take place for Jot in 2019.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Got the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter. Ching, ching, bling, bling. Patent pockets. We take the dollar, dollar. Can a damn soul stop it?
After returning from his summer trip to India in 2019, Jot took another hiatus from 9b9t itself and used the Discord exclusively. He started to play around September again. Later, in October and November, thoughts of a presidential election began to evolve. The idea, initially being suggested by Icelime, was spearheaded into action by Conan MC. Jot decided to run and have Conan a part of his media team, and Jeff, aka 99Y, as his vice president. This was around the same time Jot had started to gain the reputation of previously mentioned badman. He punished people that broke the rules and became known as a very strict mod. This reputation carried over to his presidential campaign, resulting in people like Atomic, Old Chum, Val, and Shredder using the badman name against him. However, once the debate started, Jot showed dominance. He was the favored winner of every debate and simply walked over his opponents. He used the personality of Trump from 2016 to make a persona of himself, known as President Jot. Against nearly all odds and heavy doubt from the opposition, he won the presidency and became the first official president of 9b9t. He even got JJ to come in during his inauguration ceremony to congratulate him. What ensued was a rich collection of tweets on his Twitter, server-changing political resolutions, and a metric shit ton of LOP. Jot was not active for the first half of 2020. He would only log on to 9b, check his bases and accounts every other week, and only check his Discord for pings and important messages. This was mainly due to COVID-19 and some personal problems he had. However, in the last half of 2020, around July, Jot has started to make a comeback to 9b9t. He started being more active on the Discord, and around August of 2020, he made a full return to 9b. With most of his friends from the last year having played less and less, he needed to find a new crowd to make friends with. This was around the time that Among Us started to gain traction, and it was played in public VCs near 24/7. Jot met players such as XylanHD, Nuke5, and Doting Winner 14 this way. Near the end of September, Jot decided to start a meme base called Jot Base. He invited people he had met over the past month to the base. This included Doting, Xylan, Nuke5, Soup, Minecart11, Spicy Big Daddy, Barely Illegal, Uncle Gary, Temporal, and Crazy. This base was some of the most fun Jot had had in ages, and was a fresh way to start his return to 9b. It lasted about 2 to 3 weeks, and was a memorable part of 2020. Jot also made the meme base Jot Base 2, and a temporary base, named DAFC. Around the same time, in the start of October, the two people Jot had heavily endorsed for presidency, Soup and Temporal, had dropped out. He looked out for a person to endorse and landed on one JSL. JSL turned out to be a greater candidate than Jot expected, and he fully endorsed him to the presidency. JSL won, and Jot and JSL became close political partners. Around December of 2020, Jot flew out a few 10,000 blocks in the end, with WTDpuddles and XylanHD to find a spot for their 5YA base. They settled at a spot and did absolutely nothing at the base until the final 2 months before the competition. Even then, the group waited until the final week of the competition to start building. The base was griefed, and Jot, Puddles, and Xylan started a new base which houses them, Scioto Screen, Fraaz, Doting, ZS, and numerous others. During the first 2 months of 2020, Jot also started 2 private bases with players that will remain unnamed. These bases are mainly huge stashes and are very far away from spawn, also pretty inactive because of the low member count. Jot also started a new private base with WTDpuddles only, for now, called Jotunheimer. Not much is revealed about this base other than it being based around the Norse mythological location of the same name, and it being entirely self-sufficient with no duplicate blocks used for building. Most recently, Jot has started the third and most likely final base in his Jot Base series. He started it in the midst of the 1-year anniversary of the base, and it is ongoing as of the 9th of September, 2021. 2021 will also host the third presidential election, in which Jot has been allowed to run, as it is a non-consecutive term. He won the jungle primary by placing first place and is showing strong results overall. His LARP is off the charts as well. Only time will tell if Jot wins this year too. With 2.5 more months remaining in 2021, who knows what else he can accomplish.